Great show for you guys today. Thank you for checking it out. I'm going to break down what to expect from the pod, tell you if the movie Soul is Gummy approved or not, and talk about what type of friend social media is. And I'll even share some stories. You actually get to hear about a time that I was fired from my job, which I was hesitant on telling, and I was like, you can't tell that. And then I was like, well, on second thought, let's do the damn thing. Hey, welcome to On Second Thought. I'm your host, Zach Segula, aka Zachary the GR8 on all forms of social media, coming at you live from my bedroom into your headphones or car or wherever you consume your podcast. I'm super thankful and excited to do this. I've kind of been playing with this idea for a while now, probably like a year-ish, maybe over a year. I don't know, it's kind of always just sat in the back of my mind, something that maybe I'll do, and now I'm going to do it. So this first episode will look a little different than most episodes because I kind of want to give you the motivation, why I'm doing the pod, and what to expect from it, going into details about the segments and whatnot. So it's kind of like syllabus day, but less boring. I promise it'll be less boring. So I'm doing this because if you know me, you know I love to share my opinions. I love talking that talk, but also I just really like connecting with people and putting myself out there and creating things. My OG friends will probably remember my YouTube days. And this was a long time ago, way before it was cool to be like a vlogger and all of that. Like I'm talking like sophomore year of college ish, 2010. And don't try and find them. If you didn't know about them, don't try and find them. They are hidden for everybody's safety, mainly my safety. Like looking back on them, they were a little problematic or very problematic. My intentions were good. My jokes and bits would not fly now. Like I would be canceled so quick. I would probably have to go into hiding circa Kanye West, Taylor Swift, 2009 VMAs. Like you just wouldn't hear from me for like 18 months. Um, Also, if you guys remember, like, I used to do story time on Snapchat and I really like that and I miss it. But Snapchat got a little weird, so I got away from it. And so basically, I have all these thoughts and stories that I need to get out. And so I guess that kind of sounds like a podcast in 2021. So here I am. And I don't really have any fear of putting myself out there or being honest and open and vulnerable, and you'll see that in this pod. Um, I just like talking to you guys, and I love that knowing that maybe my opinions or my thoughts or my stories people find enjoyable, and maybe it brings a little laughter to someone's day. So I'll break down the two main segments of the pod in a second, but like this part right here is kind of like the open after the intro, where I'll talk to you for a few minutes on a current event in the news or something that happened to me this week that I think you would enjoy hearing about, kind of like a Snapchat story. Like anything relevant or topical that doesn't actually fit into the two main segments. Because this pod isn't a political or a sports podcast. But if something were to come up in the news worth mentioning, like, I don't know, James Harden leaving the Rockets and single-handedly devastating the Houston strip club economy to join forces with KD and Kanye Irving, uh, Kyrie West. Well, you know what I mean. Maybe I would mention that here, right, in the open, where it doesn't really fit in the segments, but I don't know, something that I kind of want to just talk to you guys about. But today I'm just going to break down what to expect from the pod and what it looks like. And as I mentioned, and as you know, it's called On Second Thought. And besides the not so clever way that I used it in the teaser in the beginning, um, it's also because the show focuses on two main segments. And both those segments leave you with two options, really: a this or a that, a yay or a nay, a left or a right, and the fork of the road. So the first segment is called Explore or Ignore, with the idea being I'll review movies, docs, and shows, giving you everything you need to know for you to decide if you want to explore that show or ignore that show. And I hate spoilers and things being ruined for me, so I'm not going to ruin the shows. I'm going to give you everything you need to know without telling you too much. But, and the main part of the segment and the idea behind it is that like 95% of the shows that I'm going to review will be shows that are streamable content available on Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime, etc. probably gonna have to get HBO Max, and I don't know, my tax people out there, is that a business write-off? Can I? Well, like I said, it'll probably be 95% of it will be from streamable content. I actually thought about doing Tenet, uh, the movie that was released earlier this year from Christopher Nolan, as the first movie, but um, let me just save you the trouble and say pass. Please pass. Unless you want to watch a movie that you're convinced you missed the first 35 minutes of right when you start it. You're like, is this the beginning, or wait, what part of the movie is this? So Tenet, I was like, no, this doesn't make sense to start with, and like I said, it's not streamable, and that's kind of what I want to focus on, because like how often do you see people on social media needing movie or show recommendations, or like how often do you ask your friends that, like, hey, what are you watching? So I figured maybe I could be that source for you, reviewing and recommending the content that we see all of the time, that's right in front of us, that's on your Netflix top 10 and on Hulu, and people are talking about, but you're like, I don't know, should I give it a shot? Come to me and I'll tell you. Because I feel good about my ability to recommend movies and shows. One of the reasons is because I literally go through everything, like probably too much. It's not, it's, I, at some point I think it might be unhealthy. Like I even had one time, I, at the beginning of quarantine, I went through all platforms, like I said, Hulu, Amazon Prime, and I just, for like 45 minutes each one, and just started an Excel spreadsheet of movies that I wanted to watch. Um, which honestly, out loud, that sounds like some light serial killer stuff, but uh, I promise it made sense at the time. I even like had a girlfriend that we would watch movies every night before bed, and she would always be like, "You should pick it. You should pick it. You're so good at it." I was like, "Yeah, I am," because I literally spend like 90 minutes trying to find this perfect movie served up on a silver platter for you. Like, oh, you want a comedy? Check out this trailer on Hulu. Oh, you're in a drama mood? There's these two on Netflix. Well, we should check out HBO Go before we settle on something. And seriously, by the time that we would settle on a movie, it'd be 10:30 and she was asleep, and I'd watch the movie by myself. So I can be kind of picky and particular, and I kind of need to be better at that. So I'm hoping that this pod will force me to be better at that, watch some things I normally wouldn't, um, because I'm not doing it just for me. I'm doing it for you guys too. I actually had a good friend I used to live with, and he could watch anything, like literally anything. He would give it a shot. Yeah, Javon, I'm talking about you. Um, I was kind of impressed to a degree, but at the same time, like I would come home from work and I'd be like, "Oh, what are you watching?" And he'd be like, "Ah, it's just something I threw on." And like after 5 minutes, I'd be like, "Wait, what the hell is going on? And why is she carrying this plant everywhere? Is she putting the plant in a bed?" And he'd be like, "Yeah, yeah, her boyfriend got turned into a plant, so she he sleeps with her." I'd be like, "Okay, so the boyfriend's a plant?" He's like, "Yeah, and we just found out she's pregnant, so she's got to eat dirt so the seed can grow." And I'd be like, "Why are you watching this?" And he'd always be like, you never know. It's got Katherine Heigl in it. Could be good. You got to give it a shot. You got to give it a shot." And I never give it a shot. But he'd be like, "Hey, come on, Zach. I don't know. It could be good. It's worth it, right?" And then the episode would end, and it would be like season 2, episode 3. And I'd be like, "Wait, you're 13 episodes into this? You're way past giving it a shot. You're watching the plant boyfriend show?" So I don't know. He could watch anything, and I could be better at that. So I hope that this podcast makes me it. But I promise you, I'm not going to review any boyfriend plant dirt eater shows. But that's kind of the idea behind Explore or Ignore. Um, and the second segment is titled Internet Therapy, which is basically issues found on the internet, shared via the internet, but also shared via the podcast. And me giving maybe my advice um, at the situation or the problem at hand. Like there are some really great threads on the internet and on Reddit, like Am I the Asshole and relationship advice and life advice, that I think you guys will find entertaining. So I'm going to read them to you and probably comment on them. But also, I'll take from there, but I would like to have your guys' issues that maybe you guys want some help on. And I want to do that. We actually had a few people send in some real life issues for this first episode. Very thankful for them. And you can also do that too. Like I said, hit me on social media in my DMs, or OnSecondThoughtPod@gmail.com. Write in and let me know if you need some life or relationship advice. And I'll keep it anonymous. Disclaimer though, I'm not a licensed therapist. big shocker there. But I've lived multiple lives. And by that, I mean I've really messed up a lot and I've seen a lot in my life. And I want to share with you some of those situations or what to avoid, um, so you don't make the same mistakes that I did. My friends come to me a fair amount for advice. I'm obviously better at giving than taking, as most of us are, but I do believe I can help. And I don't know, let's be honest, like life situation and predicaments can be interesting and entertaining for bystanders. And some of them are on Reddit, and some of those situations you guys are living. So we'll do a few of those at the end of the pod because, like, life's wild and sometimes it's hard. Don't feel like you have to go through this alone. So my hope is that hopefully it'll help you with a situation that you're going through, whether it's yours or something similar, applies to you. And at the very least, it'll help you realize that we're all going through some shit at times and don't feel like you're alone. So let me help you while you help me with good content. Everybody wins. Feel free to share some of your issues and problems on secondthoughtpod@gmail.com. And I don't know, that's internet therapy for you, really. And basically the rundown on the pod. I kind of want to do two things with the podcast and every episode, which is I want to entertain and inform. And I think that these segments are going to do that for you. You'll get one or the other from one of the segments, hopefully both. So I appreciate you listening and growing with me. It's episode 1. It'll be a little clunky, but I promise to get better. I mean, it's a solo pod, and I'm self-taught, graduated from YouTube University, but I'm all in, and I'm committing to like 25 episodes. So I'm 25 episodes right now. Write it down. The goal is to get to weekly, but it may start out bi-weekly at first until I just learn how to be more efficient. But I don't know, 25 episodes, that's like 6+ months-ish, and we'll see where we're at from there. But I really think that you're going to like this, and I think I'm going to enjoy doing this. So let's just do the damn thing. Reviewing Disney's Soul. Explore or Ignore coming at you now.
Are you still watching?
What is this place?
What's your name, honey?
I'm Joe. I teach middle school band. Cut it, go for it! Today started out as the best day of my life.
Back here tonight, first show's at 7.
Yes! Woohoo! You know what that's gonna say? Joe Gardner. I did it. I got the gig.
Must have been sudden for you.
What? Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness! Help! I'm not done! Oh my goodness! Huh? Is this heaven?
No, it's the great before. This is where new souls get their personalities, quirks, and interests before they go to Earth.
Meet 22.
I don't want to go to Earth.
Stop fighting this.
I don't want to.
Hey, look, I already know everything about Earth, and I don't want anything to do with it.
You're missing out on the joys of life. Wow. It's my life.
Is all this living really worth dying for? You're still alive?
Can you help me get back?
No way!
There I am. What are we waiting for?
Wait, not me!
That's weird.
What is it?
151,000 souls going to the great beyond every day. And I count every single one of them. The count's off.
Huh.
Yo, I love that part when she really just him. Like when your friend or significant other is telling you about something at work that you have literally no idea what they're talking about. Like they'll come to you and be like, so today at work, Stacy actually capitalized the A91722 file instead of marginalizing it. And you're just like, like, is that a big deal? I have zero idea what you're talking about. But in this situation, a missing soul, I don't know, that seems like kind of obvious. I don't work in the great beyond, but I think that's a big deal. If you haven't gathered by now, that was the trailer of Disney's Soul. And if that wasn't enough for you, here's a quick little bio synopsis. Soul is a 2020 American computer animated fantasy comedy drama film produced by Pixar Animation Studios and released by Walt Disney Pictures, directed by Peter Docter and co-directed by Kemp Powers. The film stars the voices of Jamie Foxx, Tina Fey, Graham Norton, Rachel House, Donnell Rawlings, Questlove, Angela Bassett, and more. The story follows a middle school music teacher named Joe Gardner who seeks to reunite his soul and his body after they've accidentally been separated just before his big break as a jazz musician. So here are a little bit of stats and kind of like the little rundown of the film. Soul is a PG-rated film. PG-rated film. It's rated PG. I feel like they didn't say that correctly the first time. Released on December 25th, 2020. Merry Christmas to You from Disney+. Like I said before, directed by Peter Docter. Peter Docter is an Oscar-winning director and writer of Monsters, Inc., Up, Inside Out, WALL-E, and he's also the chief creative officer at Pixar Animation Studios. The budget was $150+ million, grossed IDK because there was no theatrical release as planned. Runtime is 100 minutes, aka 1 hour and 40 minutes. IMDb score is 8.2 out of 10. Rotten Tomatoes, the tomato meter gives it a 96%, and audience score of 89%. So basically, Soul is about a struggling musician voiced by Jamie Foxx, who's transported out of his body before the break he had been waiting for his whole life. And he's trying to find his way back to his body with the help of an infant soul named 22, voiced by Tina Fey, who can't get into a body until she finds her spark. And honestly, I like this movie. It is what you think it is. It's Disney, it's Pixar, and it's cute. Pixar is really good at what they do. Like visually, and I love how movies look. Like I love cinematography. I go to a movie 70% just for what it's going to do for my eyes. And visually it's up there. And Pixar is evolving so well. Like it's exciting to see what they will continue to put out. Because every time a Pixar film comes out, you know what you're getting, and you know that visually it's going to be unmatched. And I love that Pixar's like, it's been doing this for so long. Like probably a lot longer than you actually think. Pixar began in 1979 as a part of Lucasfilm's computer division, and they were like in the graphics group before they spun off as their own corporation in 1986. And do you know who made that possible for them to become their own corporation, providing the money and becoming the majority stakeholder? Steve Jobs, which he eventually sold Pixar to Disney. And if you haven't read Bob Iger's book, A Ride of a Lifetime, I recommend it. Super interesting. The book is good overall, but just the chapter and the stories about Bob and Steve negotiating the merger of those two companies and what that was like. Really interesting stuff. Kind of the behind the scenes stuff, which I love. And if you think about it, like if you really think about it, how crazy that this is. Like if you watch this movie on an iPad or on Apple TV, the device, not the service, then Steve Jobs not only influenced and made possible how you were watching the show, but also what you're watching. Like he played a role in the device that you're watching it on, and he also played a role in the company that made it, which to me is just boom. If you could see me right now, I'm doing the little hands with the mind blown. Like I just love Steve Jobs, true visionary, kind of a jerk, but still really influential person. And I really just love how this movie looks. And I'll say it a lot in this pod. Like the city looks awesome, the characters, it's visually appealing. And I really enjoyed that. One thing here I'll get into is like some of my thoughts, which is how this pod will go. Start out with some thoughts and we'll continue on. I don't know if this is a kid's movie. Like after watching it, it's really enjoyable, yes. And there are parts for kids, but I don't know if I'm ready to put this in as a kid's movie. Like just because it's animated doesn't make it a kid's movie. The topic, the underlining values, they're kind of high level. They're deep. Like it's philosophical. And I don't know what kids these days are asking because thank God I don't have one right now. But I don't know. Like, are they asking about the great beyond and life's meaning and your purpose? I don't think so. Like, don't they ask questions like, Mom, can I make a painting out of toothpaste? Or how do these people fit into the TV? Like, don't they ask questions like that? Maybe they don't. Maybe they're all little philosophers. I just don't know. But like I said, the movie's pretty deep. It's high level and a little confusing at times, honestly. Like, I'm not dumb, okay? I don't think I am. Maybe you're listening to this and be like, you are. And I'm like, well, maybe that's why there were times where I couldn't understand a Disney film. Like, if you don't pay attention all the time, and why would you? Because it's an animated Disney film. And isn't that why you put it on sometimes? So you can do other things, so you can text, so you can do your laundry. This one, like, there are times in the movie, like, if you're not paying attention the whole time, you'll be like, wait, what is going on? Is he, who, whose body is he in? Or where, what? Like, have you ever had to rewind a Disney movie? I don't know. I never have. To do these reviews, I do watch them twice, one taking notes and then one, just watching it. But like, I feel like there's parts in here it's a little confusing. You may have to rewind it. So I don't know if you fully expect that from a Pixar Disney film. Now, I saw some praise and some critiques on the film revolving around race. And so I will say this. I was happy to see Pixar and Disney continue to move in the right direction, getting lead characters as minorities, people of color, and women. But if you're expecting this to be a quote-unquote black film, I mean, it's not that. Like, race is not really the driver of the movie in the sense that, like, the show Blackish. It's kind of more like The Proud Family, I'd say, where the characters are, the main character, Joe, voiced by Jamie Foxx, is black, but it doesn't center around that or focus on race issues and relations. And maybe it doesn't need to. Maybe that's not the point of the film, and it's not. But like I said, I saw some critiques that some people wanted to see them do more, and then other people applauded them for what they did do. And I will say it is very authentic. Like, there's a barbershop scene, and it feels like Atlanta Light, like the show Atlanta. It feels like Atlanta Light. And they're authentic to the city of New York, and I saw praise on that. So they do a great job of, like, being authentic to what they're trying to portray. But with it being a lead character, Jamie Foxx, Joe Gardner, being black, it's, like I said, not necessarily a black film. But Jamie Foxx is awesome in it. I'm a big Jamie Foxx fan. I feel like he's one of the most funniest, most talented, coolest people in Hollywood. But I will say the first time that I watched this, I almost felt like it was a little distracting. Like, Jamie Foxx's voice is so distinct, it almost outpowered the character at times. And I never saw Rio, and I know that he voiced in that. But here, I in the beginning, it felt a little distracting. Like, one of the first scenes that you see him in, it's like Joe, his character, is in a dingy middle school band room. He looks disheveled. The kids look rough. And like, then you hear Jamie Foxx's voice, and I don't know, the voice doesn't match what we know of Jamie Foxx. And I've never really felt that, like, a person's voice overpowered the character like I kind of did in this film. I never thought that about Tom Hanks in Toy Story, but maybe that's because I was 6 and Tom Hanks wasn't a person to me, and Woody is Woody. But I guess at the same time, I don't feel that Tina Fey's voice ever distracted or took away from her character. But I don't know, maybe because of my relationship with Jamie Foxx, and he just is such a cool dude, like handsome, cool, charismatic, and then Joe Gardner is not. And so for me, I don't know, it was a little distracting. I also feel like if this weren't an animated film, I don't think it would be as good. Like, being animated, they get away with things, and they kind of push some things that it just wouldn't make sense. Like, there's some confusion. There's lack of development. It goes fast at sometimes. I mean, it's as expected with an animated film. But, like, if this were a real life action, like how they did the new Aladdin or like Enchanted, I don't think this movie works. I just really don't. So I still enjoyed the movie. Like I said, if I'm playing devil's advocate, if I'm going to critique it a little bit, if I'm going to be honest with you, which is always my goal, it's a little confusing. Jamie Foxx, he's very powerful. It overpowers his character in the beginning. I think you get used to it in the end. But Jamie Foxx is one of the coolest, charismatic people in Hollywood, and Joe Gardner is definitely not. And the film relies a lot on it being animated and what the animation actually does for it, and it covers up some things in the storyline and the plot that don't always make sense, or they kind of speed along and brush over. It is what it is, but it's still a good movie. I still enjoyed it. Looking at, like I said in the rundown, the IMDb score of 8.2 and the Rotten Tomato score, the tomato meter being a 96%, and then the audience score being 89%. I found that a little interesting that the tomato meter was slightly higher than the audience score. But I think they're factoring in everything from the writing, directing, voice acting, and the audience score is just like, how do I leave feeling the movie? Like, how do I feel leaving the movie? And an 8.9 is about right. That's what I would say. I said visually, it's awesome. I enjoyed it. I think that it's definitely something. If we're talking about exploring or ignoring, I say explore this. Like, this is something you want to see. There are great, great lines. I mean, Tina Fey and Jamie Foxx are fun together, and really the overall message of the movie is great. It's I think something that we need to hear right now. So I don't know, and especially to get it like on Disney Plus, like it was supposed to have a theatrical release, but there's a pandemic going on, so they didn't, and they put it on Disney Plus, which awesome. Like, maybe I would have paid to go see this at the theaters, but I didn't have to, and I'm happy about that. So I don't know, I like the movie. One of the things that I want to do when I do this segment is I have some categories for the movie, and I'm going to kind of apply them to every movie that I review for you. And there's like, I don't know, 6 or 7. And so the first time, and probably for the first few episodes, I'll kind of explain them to you and then, get into it. So the first kind of category is the Goldilocks Trailer Award. And so this is the trailer too cold, which is like not enough information, too hot, which is too much information, or just right? And let me just go off on this for a second. Trailers are nuts nowadays. Like, how many of us have watched a trailer and been like, okay, yeah, I don't actually need to see the movie anymore. I literally got everything out of it. Like, everything. And I hate that. Like, trailers now are like the spark notes of movies. Like, you could literally just watch like 3 trailers and be like, yep, I'm up to date. I know what's going on now. Like, you could literally watch the trailer of like 3 of a movie in a series and be like, yeah, I'll just watch the trailer of the first 2 and I'll watch the third one with you. And you'd be okay. Like, trailers sometimes give way too much information. So this category, the Goldilocks Trailer Award, this one surprisingly, like, I put it, in the pod, I'm gonna say just right. They usually tell you too much, but I really think this one paints the picture and gives you the idea, but it doesn't give you the answers, which is what I hate that trailers do. The best lines and the funniest lines are not in the trailer, which is a trailer trick, and I hate it. You watch a trailer and you think this movie's gonna be so funny, and then the 3 funniest parts are in the trailer, and you're like, I hate that they just took $11.50 from me, or 2 hours of your life, and you're like, that wasn't funny. I already knew those jokes. And I think the trailer does a good job of like focusing on the animation, to the storyline, to draw on your interest, and not as much as like what's actually happening. Like, it's visually does a lot of the work. So I really like that about it. The next category, in or out time. So like, when do you know if you're into the movie? Like, are you staying or are you out? Like, how long does it take to get good? I think this is an important category. I'd say about the 12 to 15 minute mark. Here, you kind of get the storyline. You know where it's headed. You've figured everything out. Like, you know what answers you need. Like, what questions are about to be asked, but you don't know how. You don't know like the solution. So I would say around the 12 to 15 minute mark, you kind of know like, this is for me or not. Like, if this is for your kid or not. For this movie specifically. Like, at 15 minutes, if you're like, I see kind of where this is headed, and this isn't for me, you'll know. So I would say the 12 or 15 minute mark is your in or out time. Gummy approved or not. So this is this is if it's a good movie to watch after you've consumed a gummy, which may or may not contain THC. And so like, would the movie be enjoyable with your gummy in your system or not? So is this movie gummy or approved? Yeah, I actually like I don't know of a lot of animated Disney movies that would be amplified. And that's kind of what I'm getting at this. Like, is it amplified? Obviously, there's some people that are like, everything's better high. And if you're one of those people, then this category isn't going to mean much to you. I'm not one of those people. Like some movies, I'm like, if I once watched Jurassic Park under the influence of a gummy, and whoa, guys, I couldn't finish it for one. It scared me. I got way too afraid of it. I also think I ate too much of the gummy, but way too afraid. Had to take a shower, tried to sleep it off. This was like 4 o'clock on like a Sunday. I was like, I'm not doing well. Like I tried to put on like New Girl or something to like not be afraid of dinosaurs. And this was like when I was like 20s, in my 20s, mid 20s. So I don't know. For me, not all movies are amplified with the gummy, but I would say this one was like visually, it's super cool. I'll probably beat that horse to death. I love how the movie looked, and it would look cool, high. And then like there's in the first 15 minutes, like in the trailer, they go to the great beyond, and if that gummy's kicking in at that point, you're gonna be like, WTF, what is going on? Like where did Joe go, and who is this little blobby thing? But overall, like I'd say it's one of the few animated films that I would be like, yeah, gummy up for this one. Rewatchability and franchisability. So like, how likely are you to rewatch this, and how likely is this to become a franchise, or become like a sequel? So rewatchability, I would say 8, actually probably like 9, because I said it's a little confusing. Like you may actually just have to rewatch it so you can answer your kids' questions, or like answer questions to people when they're like, so what did it mean when you're like, wait, what? So it actually probably like a 9 rewatchability, but also just because it's a fun, cute movie. And it's what you think. And the music is awesome. The soundtrack is really good, as you'd expect from a movie that centers around jazz. As far as it being a franchisability, I'm gonna say like 2. I probably will never give it like a 0, but like especially with Disney animated, like that's where they make their bread and butter. But I don't really see there a reason for there being a sequel or like continuing the story. I just there could be, and I don't want to tell you why, but like I'm gonna say it's probably like a 2 out of 10 likelihood of there being a sequel or continuing the story. The next category we have is the weather report. If you couldn't guess, this is like the percentage, the chance of tears in this film. And I'm going to apply these categories to all movies. So even a documentary, anything, like I'm going to apply this. And this one is going to probably be the hardest category that I'm going to speak on, because unfortunately, I don't cry when it comes to movies. Like, I just don't. I have yet to find a film that really like evokes that emotion. And I've told this to people, like people who love movies, and I trust their opinion. And no one has been able to give me a movie that can make me cry. If you have one, shoot it over to me. Like I said, on social, or OnSecondThoughtPod@gmail.com. If you got one that you think will make me cry, I'm all for it. Like I would love it. It's not like I don't cry. I'm a Cancer, baby. I'm emotional. All right. I know this, and I accept it. Movies just don't do it for me. On the other hand, and a little sidetrack, and I don't know why this is. You know what show really does like, and honestly, I'm almost getting a little choked up talking about it, but you know what show like really tugs at me is okay, I'm laughing now, I'm not crying. If you're like, is he crying right now? I'm not. Uh The Biggest Loser. For whatever reason, like I don't even have to be invested in the show, like the season. When I was like in college and I would just like throw that on, for whatever reason, I would be like lump in the throat, like, there you go, Jenny. You lose those 3 pounds, like, or like, no, Jeremy's going home, but he tried so hard. He tried so hard. He was on the treadmill 10 minutes longer than everybody else. He shouldn't go home. And I don't know why, but the biggest loser chokes me up. So, I don't know. I think that's something that, is important to know. So the weather report for Seoul, and this is kind of, like I said, based off of things that I'm reading, tweets, other people's opinions. Because for me, it's not doing it. But like from what I've seen, it's like a 60 or 70% chance of rain if you watch this. Especially if you're like an emotional one. Like I could definitely see how some parts are going to tug at you. So weather report for Seoul, 60% chance of tears. The WikiLeaks Google report trivia winner. I really don't know what to call this segment, so it's kind of all of them. But it's like stuff I found on the internet, tweets, and just like little fun facts about the movie that I thought maybe you guys would find interesting. So some of these would be like, during the approximately 5 years of development, the story team delivered 73,811 storyboards, which I have never made a movie, but that just sounds like a lot, and a lot more than most movies. So I don't know, that like 73,000 plus like storyboards and renditions of the movie. I don't know. That's wild. Although Soul asks some big questions, it's not linked to Peter Docter, the director's 2015 Oscar-winning feature film Inside Out, which took place inside an 11-year-old girl's mind. He says, let's not feed into any internet theories that this is an official, unofficial Inside Out sequel. It's not. The co-director Kemp said, it's definitely not. We're definitely conscious of the similarities at the beginning, and we actually tried to push against that. One thing that we were not so fond of doing is repeating ourselves. So there's a lot of different things, and we explored similar things in different ways. Another fun fact, John Ratzenberger, who is an actor who's actually been in literally every Pixar film. I don't know who this guy is, but apparently I think he was on like Cheers. But he was, I think he's, I can't remember. I think he's the voice of maybe Pig. I don't know. I feel like I need to like check this. I'm going to fact check this. Even though this section of the pod, I was doing like minimal fact checking. Because that's not like, it's just the Google report. It's the WikiLeaks. I don't know. Maybe this stuff's true. Maybe it's not. I have no idea if they actually went through 73,000 storyboards. But the internet said so. And we live in a time where we trust the internet. So I'm just going to deliver this stuff to you so you don't have to search it. But John Ratzenberg is apparently in Seoul, even though he's uncredited. The director refuses to say where he is, but assures us that he is also in this film, which would make it in every single Pixar film dating back to the first one. Jamie Foxx and the director of Soul first wanted his character to actually be a scientist before settling on a jazz musician. The real reason that Joe Gardner was a career jazz musician was because Peter Docter thought that the lead character harnessing the power of jazz like a hobby would kind of be an insult to the culture of jazz. And I'm not someone who is musically inclined, but I could imagine how offensive that would be to be like, that's just kind of a hobby. Like, I can see where they were going with this. Tina Fey plays the cute and bubbly 22 in Soul. It turns out that the actual reason that her name is 22 is because Pixar has released 22 movies in total before they released Soul. So Soul was the 23rd, but before this, 22 movies, starting from Toy Story in 1995 to onward in 2020. So And I love that Disney and Pixar does this. Like, I think they call them like Easter eggs. And, when I was doing this research, there's so many. Like, I don't know. I don't really know how much you care about those, but like if you look it up, it's there's a lot. And I love that that Pixar does this, like always gives you little winks. Like even one of them was like if you look in the back scene of when Joe was crossing the street, there's a pizza car and it's from Pizza Planet from Toy Story. Like just cool stuff like that. I really enjoy when they sneak those things in there. Um, but yeah, Tina Fey is named 22 in the movie, and it's because there are 22 films in the Pixar family. Before the end logo rolls out, it says, in addition to the usual, and then it says created by Pixar, and in homes at least 6 feet away from each other in the Bay Area, referencing the fact that the animators actually had to work at home due to the COVID-19 pandemic. So they actually finished this movie remotely. Last one, which I think I'll try to figure this out for all of them if I can, which this really could be its own category in itself, but it's kind of like the streamability. Like, what are the numbers? So according to Samba TV, more U.S. households chose to watch Soul on its opening weekend than those who chose to watch Wonder Woman 1984, which I believe obviously came out the same weekend. So 2.2 million U.S. households watched Wonder Woman 1984 on its opening weekend on HBO Max, but 2.4 million households streamed Pixar's Soul on Disney Plus. So those are big numbers for opening streams. I don't know, like I know that Palm Springs on Hulu did big numbers over the summer. So, take it for what it is. I don't know, And yeah, that's the WikiLeaks Google report. We got a few more categories to go through. Ending score. So for this, it's either going to be a +5 or a -5, like a +5 or -5. And so that really just means, does it fall on 5 or above or 5 or below? Because I don't want to give away like an ending. Like if I tell you that an ending is a 9 in The Sixth Sense, then you know to expect something unexpected. And I hate that. So instead, I'll either just say +5, meaning it's on the positive side of 5, or -5, -5, meaning it's either 5 or below. And so that would be like Lost or Dexter or Vivarium, that movie. I would give those a -5, but I don't want to tell you that like a movie's ending is a 1, because then you're gonna you may not want to watch it, and then you also may just go into it knowing like something so stupid is about to really ruin the awesome hour and 20 minutes I just spent in this, and they're gonna crush it in the last 5 because Zach said so. So when I give an ending score, like I said, +5, -5. This one I'm gonna say +5. The ending doesn't take away from the movie, and I think you'll be happy with it. And like I said, I don't want to give too much away, but I just want to let you know, like, is it, are you going to be happy at the end? I believe so. Next category, déjà vu or vujade. I don't speak French, so if someone out there like is really, conversational in French and they're like, vujade makes no sense. Yeah, I'm sorry. But it basically is saying like, is it déjà vu? Like, does this movie feel like I've seen this before? Or is it vujade where I'm like, I do not feel like I've seen it. Like the opposite of déjà vu. And even though it's a Pixar animated film, I'm going to say vujade. The concept is different. It's a little heavy and kind of philosophical, I feel like, for a Disney flick. It poses some interesting internal questions that I don't feel like have been asked before. So I would say it's kind of a unique movie. You won't watch it saying you felt like you've seen it before, even though it is a Pixar film and there are some Disney Pixar aspects. I'd still say vujade. It's unique. And I think that's what makes it more enjoyable. My last category for this is food for thought. And food for thought is where I take the movie and I'm going to compare it to a restaurant. So for this one, I'm gonna say that this movie Soul is CC's Pizza. And I don't know, do you guys even remember these? Like, I don't even know if these still exist. Um, they were like big when I was like, especially in high school. Like that was the place to be because like it was like $7.99. It was just it's CC's Pizza is an all you can eat pizza buffet. Um, and so I feel like this is CC's Pizza because like on the surface, CC seems like a place that you go for your kids. Like this is a favor that you do for your kids. But honestly, I feel like adults get just as much out of it as the kids do. And that's kind of how I felt about Soul. Like you're putting this on this Disney animated film and you're like, yeah, I'm watching this for my kids. But like I don't know. Like I said, it's kind of high level. It asks some questions that I think pertain more to adults and make you kind of reflect like on your life and how you're living, and how you want to be remembered and things like that. So I feel like it looks like it's a kids movie, but it's like I said, it's not. And like that's how I feel about CC's. Like it looks like a kids restaurant, but like adults definitely can go there without their kids, and they do. Um, and it's like somewhere that you'd want to go again. Like CC's is a place that you'll go again. You don't like tell your friends about it. You don't rave about uh the pizza you had at CC's, but like you go there and you know what you're getting and you're like, yeah, I'm cool with this. And I feel like that's what Soul was. Like you'll watch it again, and you know what you're kind of getting with it. You're like, all right, yeah. All right, I need something quick. I need a flick. I need something to maybe pick me up, maybe make me think. I want to see something cool. Like you know what you're going into and you know what you're getting. And so that is why I believe that Soul, if it were a restaurant, would be CC's Pizza. And those are my categories. And I'll try to apply those to all movies. Just, something fun. Add like a little wrinkle in reviews. And different ways to look at the movies. And if you have any like interesting categories that like maybe you have an idea, shoot it over to me. Like send it along. I'm down for it. Like I want to give you guys what you guys want. I want to make this an enjoyable experience and useful. So those are the categories. To recap, Pixar's animated film Soul, streaming on Disney Plus, is an explore. I say you guys will enjoy it. Check it out. It's worth it. Pop the gummy, get the umbrella ready, and gather the kids around. Family, friends, it's whatever. It's a good movie at any time. So I say explore it. Internet therapy coming up next.
You really need some help, but a regular psychiatrist couldn't even help you. You know what I mean? You need to get involved at the university level. Like where Freud studied and have all those people looking at you and checking up on you. That's the kind of help you need. Not the once a week for $80. No, you need a team. A team of psychiatrists working round the clock. You need to go to like...
Shout out to Seinfeld and Wale for that intro. More about nothing. Here we are, internet therapy. And here is the first situation. This was actually sent in by somebody, so thank you for that. Like I said, feel free to share in your issues, problems, dilemmas on social media. You can DM me at Zachary the Great GR8 or on OnSecondThoughtPod@gmail.com. Is sharing caring? I'd like to remain anonymous, so please use a made-up name. I, 26 female, so we'll call you Pam, works in accounting. My boyfriend, 28 male, and we'll call him Jim, works at a nonprofit downtown. We've been together 2+ years and have been pretty happy with minimal issues. About 6 weeks ago, I got a promotion. Yay, you! But it will require me to relocate to Nashville. Because my boyfriend is working at the nonprofit, he can't really move right now. He won't leave his job without another one lined up, so I'll have to move without him until he can find something down here. I totally want to stay together and I really care about him, and he's really chill and gives me the space I want and need. But the other day, Jim suggested that while I'm in Nashville without him, he should have the passwords to my social media accounts. He's volunteered his passwords too, saying I can have them, but he doesn't use them. Doesn't use social media as frequently as I do. It doesn't really concern me. He has 2 posts on Instagram in 2020, one of his birthday, and one of a picture of our cat in a hat that he found hysterical. It sounds funny. I'd like to see the picture. He doesn't use Facebook and only snaps me, his brother, and maybe a high school friend or two. I'm more social. So I have more friends. I post more vacations, workout, brunches, etc. Brunches. Okay. Let me guess. Possibly the Mimosa Boomerang. I know the vibes. Okay. I know your posts. I'm with you. All right. So neither of us have cheated, and I thought I've been pretty open, but this feels weird. I don't have anything to hide, but why does he need this? Should I give him my passwords to ease my mind or not? Please keep me anonymous. Thank you. Okay. So I think there's a few things here. One is if you post more on social and you're probably more popular, you're pretty confident in yourself. And maybe he isn't. So he's probably afraid of losing you. New city, better job. He doesn't want to get left behind. So I think it's important to understand kind of his feelings, like where is this coming from and why? And maybe you should just ask him, what is he afraid of? What is he trying to prevent from happening and why does he think that your passwords are going to prevent it? Because one thing that I've always believed in is if someone wants to cheat, they're going to cheat. You can't stop someone from wanting to do something just because you have them, have eyes on them all the time or know their location, all that stuff. If someone wants to cheat, they're going to find a way. So I don't know. I think it's important to ask him, why does he feel that he needs these things and what is he trying to prevent? But to answer your question, no, you should not give him your passwords. If you're not hiding anything, him having your passwords are probably going to cause more problems than it solves. You're not going to feel trusted when you feel like you should be trusted because, as you said, you have nothing to hide. And what if he opens up a snap or reads a DM before you do? You're going to be pissed. And if he forgets to tell you, and then now your friend Stacy is upset with you because you never replied to her. And it wasn't that you didn't reply, it's that you didn't know about it because Jim opened it first and he totally forgot to tell you that Stacy wanted to meet up for drinks or yoga got canceled. So this just looks messy all the way around. And also, you don't really want to set a precedent that this behavior is okay. Because I can tell you right now, this won't make him feel better. This will appease him until he needs something else accessible to. Again, I don't think this is about trust. I think it's about his insecurities. And so whatever those reasons are, I think that is kind of a deeper dive that you guys need to get into, that he needs to get into. But, as his partner, you probably want to help him because there's something that he's not confident about. And like I said, I would talk to him and just figure out why is he feeling this way? What is he afraid of? And I think once you understand what he's afraid of, you guys will be able to find better ways to minimize his fears. Because whatever he's afraid of, having your passwords isn't going to solve it. I can promise you that. And I think this also kind of brings up a greater point that I would love to touch on. And I guess we're going to do it on episode 1. Don't let social media ruin your relationships. This is too often of a thing. And we're dealing with issues because of social media that couples didn't have to deal with 10, 15 years ago. Our grandparents didn't have to do it. Too many of us listening right now have had a fight with our significant other over social media. A like, a follow, a reply too soon, not soon enough, lack of posting too much. What the hell? You can't win. So, I don't know. Just don't let social media dictate your relationship. Don't let it ruin your relationship. These aren't issues that we should have to deal with. This isn't a real place. What seems to matter is that you're happy with him. He's happy with you. You care about him. You love him. And don't let social media get in the way of that. Like I said, don't give him your passwords. That's not an option. And we're not going to set a precedence that he can have that type of access. Whether you're hiding something or not, I don't think it's going to solve his issue. I think that whatever his issue is a little more internal. Whatever he's afraid of or insecure about, dig deeper in that. So that is my opinion on that. Follow up with me. Let me know how it goes. Good luck on the move. And just like that, we have answered our first question on internet therapy. And I kind of want to do like, I don't know, time depending, 2, 3, 4. We'll see how it goes. Maybe you guys love this and we'll just keep doing these all the time. And maybe you hate it and I'll just do like one at the end of the pod. But we're gonna keep it moving. So this person wrote in, left a job before Plan B. Now I can't find one. All right, definitely been there. So let's get the backstory. I worked at this job for 4 months. The first 2 months were awesome and I loved it. I had a decently set schedule and it made juggling college easier on me. My manager that hired me got promoted and a new one took over, and I overheard him talking bad about me on 3 different occasions to other people, basically calling me dumb. After weeks of this, I was burnt out and I really hated my job. So, without much thought, I put in my 2-week notice. On my last day, I didn't say anything. When it was time for lunch, I just got in my car and went home. Ah, the good old ghost bounce. I have not done this at a job before, but kind of would like to, maybe. I don't know, probably not at my age anymore, but I don't know. I see where you're feeling. Um, Says, I was so tired of the anxiety and feeling that I was constantly doing something wrong and every detail scrutinized, I just left. I have 2 years experience at a smaller retail setting, but this place was bigger and on a larger scale. I definitely was comfortable. I just felt like there was this perception of me that I was dumb, incompetent, and not good at my job when I thought I was doing pretty well. So I left on lunch and never returned. Now I'm without work and I'm looking back like, Also, I remember the struggle I went through before finding that job and how grateful I was to have that job. And now, a few weeks later, I'm frustrated that I haven't been able to find a job that pays what that job did. And now I feel stupid for having left in such a way and I can't go back without anything else lined up. I'm also low-key scared I'm going to burn through my savings that I worked hard for without a job. I feel defeated, to be honest. Was I dumb for leaving my job without a plan? What should I do? Okay. Well, you're asking the right person because I don't believe, I don't personally, and this is my belief, and my friends listening and family listening know I definitely believe this, that a job should not take precedence over your self-esteem or your mental health. That's, a job is to give you purpose and to create income, but it's not who you are. So you came to the right person because I've definitely left jobs that I didn't feel appreciated or I wasn't happy at. So my first thoughts are, did you ever talk to your manager? Like, did you ever talk to them and say, like, hey, do you think is there something I'm doing wrong? Like, I kind of heard that maybe you don't think I'm the sharpest tool in the tool shed. Like, what's up? So I don't know. Like, did you ever go down that road, or you heard him once, it built up and then you left? I think that this is a good example of why you can't just you can't leave on necessarily your own terms. Like, you put in your 2-week notice, but then you left at lunch. Like, it almost just negated the fact that you even worked out your 2 weeks. Like, you did 99% of your obligation and then you left at the end. Like, that was dumb. Let's call it, a buck is a buck. I'm gonna keep it 100 with you. That was dumb. Because like I said, what was the point of finishing out your 2 weeks if you're gonna leave at lunch and basically you're probably left on bad terms? Like, you're probably not rehirable, and they probably aren't gonna leave you, a good reference. And like, being in college, you don't have a lot of work experience, so you only have so much like work history and references from other employers. And this actually kind of reminds me of a story that I will tell. Maybe I shouldn't, but I'm going to anyway because this is my podcast and whoever's listening cares about me. And you probably know about this, but when I was in college, in undergrad, I had my first serving job at Harper's in East Lansing. Shout out to Harper's, aka the super spreader COVID, serving up COVID year round. If you don't know, they actually got shut down over the summer and really led to a big issue in East Lansing because of how they handled COVID and how they just didn't listen to any of the rules. And I feel okay saying that because I actually hate that place and the manager. Screw you, Pat. Yeah, I'm saying it. And it's tied to the story because I was fired from Harper's after working there for 9 months, which 9 months at Harper's is like 30 years. Like, I'm not kidding. I was there when we got our W-2s at the beginning of the year, and there was over 400 W-2s, okay? There's 365 days in a year. So that means that they had gone through so many employees, like on average, more than one employee a day. And I stayed there for 9 months as a server, like going in at 5 o'clock and getting home at 3:30. And I was damn good at it. But whatever. And I got fired, okay? And I got fired from Harper's because I was a server and I worked a morning shift. And on the morning shift, there is no bartender. And so they wanted us. They yelled at us all the time. Post on social media. Tell your friends to come in. So I posted on social media, I think on Twitter at the time, hey, I'm serving at Harper's. No bartender here. So come through and I'll hook you up. And that was my tweet. That was my tweet. And like 4 hours later, the manager, Pat, comes up to me and he's like, "What's up, Zach?" And I'm like, "Hey, Pat." And this guy is such a dick. He really is. And he's like, "Why don't you hook me up with a drink?" And I thought he wanted me to ring him in something. So I like go up to the computer like an idiot. And I'm like, I type in my number and I'm like, "Yeah, what do you want?" He's like, "I don't know. What do you hook people up with?" And I'm like, Whatever you want." He's like, "Oh, really? Whatever I want?" He's like, "You know what? Actually, give me your apron." He's like, "Give me your apron. And I want you out of here." And I'm like, "Why?" He's like, "You think I don't know what hookup means?" I'm like, "Wait, what?" He's like, "Hook up. That means for free. You're giving out free drinks at my bar?" And I'm like, "Bro, no. What are you like?" I'm like dealing with. I actually got sat a like 25 top sorority, and I was in the process of like putting in their drink orders, and I'm like, I didn't really don't have time for this. And he's like, "No, you're out. You're done." Long story short, which I don't even know if this is short anymore, but I got fired from there, and that was my only serving job. So at the rest of the summer, I could not get a serving job. I was blackballed from East Lansing serving. Like it was nuts. I was applying everywhere and anywhere, and because I only had one place, one like work history, which was Harper's, if they contacted them, I was fired for stealing. So no one was giving me a job. This is so embarrassing. I don't know why I'm telling you guys this. I was so desperate. I was going to run out of money. And I needed work. I applied to the Denny's. The Denny's. You heard that correctly. In East Lansing. And I didn't get the job. I honestly did not get the job at Denny's. And that was kind of a blow to the ego. And so to wrap this up, I took a job at Maru Sushi, even though I told them I did not eat sushi and I knew nothing about sushi. And they were like, "You're okay. You'll be fine." And I failed the little writing test because it was like 120 questions and I did not know, what went in miso soup and what went into all the roles. And I told them I wasn't going to know that. But anyways, same day I didn't get hired into Maru. I got the call of it. I did get a job at Pepino's. Shout out to Pepino's. Shout out to Dan Tyler. I have some great lifelong friends that I made from that restaurant. I loved working there. It was a great place. So everything works out and happens for a reason. You just got to keep pushing. So the leaving your fashion that you did, yeah, that was dumb. But to leave without a plan, no, I'm not going to tell you that was dumb. I'm a big believer that you got to prioritize mental health and self-esteem over a paycheck. And it sounds like that's kind of what you did. But like I said, that work history is super important. So leaving on lunch, I don't know, that doesn't make sense to me. And if I were your friend, I would have told you not to do it. So now that you did, we're going to try and fix it. So if I were you, I would reach out to an old coworker, not the manager, but like an old coworker, and just see what the vibe is about you. Like after you left, like, did they not even notice? Did they not care? Did you leave them high and dry? Like, what are their feelings about you now? Are they blackballing you? Like, as the manager mentioned, like, "Oh yeah, so and so, is looking for a job," and a reference called, and I said, "Yeah, he left on bad terms." So kind of find out, if it's them blackballing you, or if it's you're trying to find a job in a pandemic, which isn't great. And some places may have slowed hiring, or it's different. So just remember, the job search is a numbers game. Keep pushing, keep trying, but also take this time. Like you said, you're in school, crush school, look at internships, all right, if you can't get a job right now, how can you set yourself up to further your career, not just your bank account. I mean, there's a lot of ways to make money. And remember that the job search is a numbers game. So, grind, hustle, do what you got to do to make the money, pay your bills. And, when you get a job, be smart about it. Don't leave. Don't put in a 2-week notice and then leave on lunch. But everything happens for a reason. I'm hoping that the same for you. Good will come. Stay positive. And, just don't give up. Don't be down on yourself. Don't freak out. You'll land on your feet. There's people around you who will take care of you. The fact that you're writing in, says, hey, I want to change this situation. A lot of people will just sit back, relax, and be like, hey, I don't know, man. What can I do? Scrape up that unemployment. Like, no, you want to make a difference. So I believe that you will. I'm wishing the best for you. All right. Let's do one more because these are fun. I hope you guys are enjoying these. So this person wrote in as well. Shout out to everyone who actually sent me some of their situation. COVID guilt. Okay, so here's my situation. I worked 60 plus hours the last 5 months. I have limited bills and was able to save a decent amount of money, enough to live comfortably without a job for at least 3 or 4 months. Damn, that's sick. I've been living the last 3 or 4 months without a job too. Just not comfortably. JK. Well, not really. Hashtag pandemic life. Anyways, this isn't about me. This is about you. So they say I've decided after New Year's, I want to travel and maybe learn a new language. With my options limited, I booked a flight to Mexico. It's getting closer to me having to leave, and I'm starting to feel guilty, like I shouldn't be traveling because of the virus, or I shouldn't be having fun. Family members I talk to always sound concerned, and I see posts on social media that are saying that they're ripping people for traveling or literally doing anything besides staying at home. I'm starting to wonder, am I being selfish / irresponsible or unfair to other people? Should I rebook my flight to Mexico for another time? Hope you read this one. Good luck on the pod. Okay. Well, thank you. And so I guess my first question that I have is, are you feeling guilty because you're going out of town, or is there something else at play here? Because I don't know, like what are you really guilty about? I don't think you need to feel guilty at all, or I don't think this is irresponsible. Like you worked your ass off, 60 plus hours for the last 5 months. Like you saved your money, and you probably saved all your money because you stayed at home and did nothing but work. So who are you being irresponsible to? You're the one making the decision to travel. You're the one that's going to bear all of the risks and have to deal with the consequences. It's not like you're traveling to go see family members who could be at risk. Like when you come back, that's a different story. Then you should be a little more concerned. Like, what are you going to do when you come back? If you're not vaccinated, or are you going to, self-quarantine to make sure that when you come back, you're not putting people that you care about at risk. But while you're heading to Mexico, and it sounds like you didn't mention that you're traveling with anybody, so you're traveling by yourself, like who are you being irresponsible to? I believe that like the pandemic can't run our lives. It can alter it, and it has. And we should live differently until we have it under control, but we can't just stop doing everything. We can't just do nothing that we would normally do. I'm pro mask, I'm pro consideration, but I'm not pro new life. Like I don't want to just be a completely different person because of this virus. That these are the cards that we're dealt, and we just got to play them. But we can't just not play the game at all. I don't think anything that you're doing is unfair. We all have different situations. We all have different lives. We all have different circumstances. Like I don't know what you did the past 3 months, but if you worked enough and made enough money to be able to go travel and not have to worry about money for 3 or 4 months, like why should you stay at home and literally just do nothing? Like, of course, I've traveled and I worked hard to be able to get all my ducks in a row to do that. So I totally get where you're coming from. And no, this is not unfair to anybody. Yep, there's going to be some people who are working, but guess what? There's also some people who got a stimulus check that probably still have a job, and that's okay. I'm not upset about that at all. Like, there's some people who, are blessed with not having any college debt for however they got that. That's nothing to be upset about. Everybody's life circumstances are different, and it's not unfair to anybody. We make the best with what we have. So you were put in a situation that you had to work 60 plus hours a week, and guess what? You didn't spend a lot of money. And now you have a lot, and you want to go get out of the cold. So I get it. Go for it. I would not change your flight. I don't think you're being irresponsible. I say have fun, live it up, get a margarita for me. And also, I guess this is touching on another thing that, came into play earlier, and it seems like it could be, a reoccurring theme. Don't let social media tell you what to do. There's these people who don't even know you. Like, think how crazy that is. You're scrolling through Twitter, or you're on TikTok, or wherever your social media is, and you're letting them impact your decisions and your opinions and the life that you're living. Like, you don't even know these people. Just because someone has 16,000 retweets doesn't make them an expert. And they're only an influencer if you let them influence you. An influencer isn't a real thing if you don't get influenced by it. So, like, don't let social media bog your mind. Like, if my advice to you is get off social media. Chill out. Go sit on the beach in Mexico, sip your margarita, and don't post about it, and don't care what anyone else thinks, because you're literally letting people who you don't know influence your decisions. And you don't even know what happens after they hit send and tweet. Like, you know how many people pump fake for retweets and likes? Are you kidding me? Pump fakes. Like, you have no idea if that person who's, posted that super passionate TikTok about how they only step out of their room to go pee and to drink water because that's the safest thing. You have no idea if after they sent that TikTok, they went to a basement party. Like, shut up. Everyone on social media, shut up. Unless you're sharing this podcast, then I'm listening. But honestly, to wrap up my opinion on this, you're not selfish. You're not irresponsible. You are responsible. You worked your ass off to save up your money. Don't rebook the flight. Like, when would you rebook it to? When you feel safe? Like, well, when? When is that going to be? We don't know when things get back to normal. So don't rebook it. Live your life now. Be mindful of the virus, but don't let it control you. Thank you for the question. Adios, amigo or amiga. I'm not going to tell you if it's a boy or girl, so we'll leave that one in a question mark. And then boom, right there, internet therapy. There we go. We did it. I enjoyed that. I had fun. I hope that you guys got something out of that too. Whether it was your problem or not, you took something from that. And I said, feel free to write in your issues. Something you want me to read. I always keep it anonymous. OnSecondThoughtPod@gmail.com. If you want to chime in on someone else's situation, if you think that you have got a different take or different opinion, I can read those too. So send those in. And if you wrote yours in and you want to follow up with us, keep people informed how things turned out, feel free to do that. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know more of that, less of that. And that's kind of the pod. We just did it. I always do want to end the pod on a positive note, positive quote, because I am an avid reader-ish. More audiobooks than actually reading, but I do both. Big podcast listener. And I feel like I would be doing you guys a disservice if I didn't share some of the stuff that I pick up on reading these books and listening to these podcasts. So always want to end on a positive note, positive quote. And this one comes from Tim Ferriss on the Renee Brown podcast. And he says, just because you can win an argument doesn't mean you're right. And I think that's really important for myself to remember. And I think it's important for everybody to remember. Winning an argument doesn't mean you're right. Sometimes it just means that you're better at arguing. And also, like, how many times have you done everything you could to prove that you're right and then left the conversation or left the situation feeling worse? Like, what did you have to do to tear that person down, to tear their thinking down so you could be right? For what? For your ego? Because I promise you didn't change their mind. You rarely change their action. Anytime you're in an argument, no one wins. No one wins. I've been in 10 million arguments. And as I'm getting older, I'm realizing that even if I walk away feeling like I proved my point, I didn't win. I did not win. We are in a heavily divided time right now. I feel I do feel comfortable saying that. um, so winning an argument doesn't mean you're right. Don't get on social media. Arguing on social media on Facebook is a waste of time. I think maybe that's like the overwhelming theme of this pod, or at least internet therapy section. Social media is like your fake friend. It's there, but it doesn't really always serve you the right purpose. Um, so I don't know. Like Tim said, just because you can win an argument doesn't mean you're right. I'd say work on listening and understanding someone's differing opinion and point of view. But let's keep it 100. If you're in an argument, no one won. There's so much better way to spend your time. You rarely ever change anyone's opinion, actions. So work on listening. And that's the positive note, positive quote to end the pod. And that's the pod. That's the first one. We just did it. First one's in the books. Well, I guess it's really like in the phone, but you get what I'm saying. I really hope you enjoyed it. Let me know your thoughts. Zachary the Great, GR8 on all forms of social, OnSecondThoughtPod@gmail.com. Send me your movie recs, category ideas, advice, all of that. I promise to keep getting better. This was pod 1. As long as you listen, I'm going to give you my best. If you give me your ears for 60 to 90 minutes a week, in return, I'm going to give you 100% effort. My goal when I started this venture for this podcast, and every pod, my goal is to entertain you and to inform you. And I'll work on every episode until I feel like I've done both of those things. So like I said, bear with me as I learn and I grow and I get better at this. And bear with me as I promote it. Because like I said, I believe in it. I had fun doing it. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And I'm going to plug it. I'm going to put it on social media a lot. Because I want to keep doing it. And I want to reach as many people as I can. Because I think there's value in it. I think that you guys will enjoy it. Like I said, my goal, entertain and inform. And also reach as many people as I can. So please, please, please subscribe, rate, and review. Share if you care. If you're listening this far, if you've made it to the end, I love you. You're a real one. I hope you enjoyed. I'll be back in your ears next week. Talk is cheap until it pays the bills. On Second Thought Pod, this is Zach School saying I love y'all and stay safe.